together today.
My pleasure.
So, Gabriel, we just want to take a moment and just talk about the past 12 months. We've been working with you for about 12 months. Originally, you were in a place, and had quite a few things going on, and quite a lot of reservation about way of doing things. But rather than talk about that, I want to talk about you and let you voice where you guys were as a business with NetSuite, what your journey into NetSuite was, and just to sort of set the scenes a little bit.
Sure. So we prior to using NetSuite, we were using a bunch of systems cobbled together, but the main source of truth was a custom-built ERP that was at least 15 years old and had some major issues. And we had added functionality on top of that. We had Salesforce as our CRM that was taking data from the ERP but couldn't put it back in. We were using a bunch of different systems to try to achieve what we needed to achieve. And so we went on a journey of looking for what is the best system for us, preferably one that was all in one. And we looked at a number of options and ultimately settled on NetSuite. And NetSuite connected us with I'd say a tier one integrator to do the work. And, I have to say overall, I was not satisfied with the work done by the integrator, the cost associated with it. And while they had wanted to continue post go live supporting us, it just really wasn't a good fit. And we were looking to find somebody else to help us support. And we went through a number of support companies to try to find the right one that could meet our needs. We're a mid-sized company. We're not very big, but we're not very small. And so we needed to find somebody in that sweet spot. And as time went on, we also realized that, we're going to have to renegotiate our contract soon because we had a 3-year term, 1 year of which was eaten up by the process of going live. And then 6 months before you terminate, you need to start renegotiating. So it came up pretty quickly.
And in terms of that's a great journey. It's in terms of the present, how would you find that transition from what sounds like a friction-filled implementation, which is not uncommon, into the present? How would you look at things now?
In the sense of what would I have done differently, or how are things today?
I do more about just how are things today.
I think today things are quite smooth, and we've gotten to a place where we are functional. The system does what the basics of what we need it to do, and now we're trying to find efficiencies and automation, and trying to take full advantage of what NetSuite has to offer. I think probably like many people who've gone through an implementation, we essentially recreated the basics of what we needed and had in the old system within NetSuite, and then without taking advantage of all of that NetSuite could offer, due to issues with integrators, due to our lack of knowledge of the system. And now the last year, and hopefully the next few years, are really just about how do we get the most out of the system.
Yeah, right. And so when we talk about the future and getting the most out of the system, what does that look like for you practically?
Automation, really. Automation, removing things that we overbuilt in terms of processes that we didn't need, and not using the native functionality that would increase the speed of the system. But really, there's a ton of automation that we could be doing that would make everybody's life easier, which was the point of going to NetSuite that we're not doing.
Yeah, and that element of automation is really key for everyone. No one that I have ever met said I want to buy NetSuite and work harder than I did without it.
Yeah.
So it completely. Now, you mentioned that the license came up quite quickly. Tell us about what that looked like for you, and how did we help you through that process with our license management approach?
Sure. So I was fortunate in that I had, you negotiate enough SaaS licenses and you understand the basics of it. And, I had worked very closely with Salesforce on renewing our licenses a number of times. So I had an idea of process, but not an idea of substance. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say substance, I meant that with Salesforce, I knew what their discounts could be. I knew what was the art of the possible through
Mm-hmm.
trial and error, but I didn't know that for NetSuite. And working with you and Ria really gave us the ability to understand what's the market doing, what are
Mm-hmm.
similar companies to us doing, and what can we actually get. And
Yep.
then obviously using the expertise to say, well, okay, well, how do we get there?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and having Ria be involved directly with NetSuite on our behalf also added that layer of expertise, the knowledge that even though we had a new AE on our account at NetSuite, that wasn't going to be an issue. We knew the escalatory process. We also had enough people in the negotiations to properly play good cop, bad cop when needed, and it just made for a much more. I think we got a much better result because of it. But you have to start by knowing what is possible. If you're asking for something that's clearly impossible, you won't get the time of day. But if
Yep.
you're asking for something that's on the outer reaches of possible, you're more
Yep.
likely to get it. And to know where that line is, you need to have the experience of having gone through this a bunch of times.
Yeah. Right. Right. And that element of license management that we that was available through us really helped close that gap. I mean,
Mhm.
even your experience with dealing with other SaaS vendors, they're all similar, same, but different, as they like
Mhm.
to say. But in understanding the realm of possibility, you understand where that boundary lays. Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's and the other side of that, Gabriel, is that um, you know most executives might do 1 to 5 sorts of deals like that a
Mhm.
year, maybe. Whereas the account managers are doing 200 of them a quarter,
Yes,
or
exactly.
200 a year. And so they're doing a lot more and they understand a lot more about their side of the fence. So the weighting is massively
No,
different.
I mean, I liken it to anything else in life. You go to a operations specialist or a transportation specialist to figure out what's the best carrier for you
Yeah.
because you don't know that. Um, Negotiating one of the more material contracts of your corporate life, you should go to somebody who has some experience. Because again, like you said, it's not something that you do every day, and you need that
Yeah.
experience.
So just on that, just to delve on that a little bit, um, we helped you after you'd already chosen NetSuite and already started investing in that
Mhm.
delivery process. How different do you think the outcomes would have been if we had gotten involved with you earlier?
So the honest answer is we got a really good deal to start with.
Right.
Uh, but it was very long and very painful. I think it would have been faster. I think where I'm not gonna say I failed was I was forced into a relationship with an integrator.
Mm,
And NetSuite made me believe that I had no choice but to go with their suggestion.
right.
And had I known, had you guys been involved, I would have been aware that there were other options, that I should have spent as much time finding an integrator as I did finding the right software. And that was
Right.
my mistake. So I think just the general knowledge of the business would have been helpful. And maybe we could have gotten a better deal. And knowing how that worked would have been helpful. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's a really good answer. Really good answer. Um, Tell me a little bit about you mentioned about being sort of told to work with this integrator. I mean, we don't see ourselves as an integrator, but I
Mhm.
appreciate your point. We sort of differentiate ourselves in a few different ways. One of them
Mhm.
is that we are independent of the vendor community. So we talk about being client side rather than vendor side.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a really important part of our independence. So we don't have this vendor relationship that is bound to us in that
Mhm.
form. Um, and obviously we work on retainer basis as opposed to some sort of hours type situation. And we also use proactive support rather than reactive support. What I'm interested in knowing from you at an at a just your perspective on that approach versus the approach that you'd received when dealing with a vendor side, by the hours reactive kind of approach. I mean, how different is what we do relative to the more traditional approach?
So I would say that your flexibility and understanding of business needs is significantly higher. So I'm a former lawyer who used to bill by the hour, and I'm allergic to anybody who bills by the hour, for many reasons. And that you guys were able to come up with a flat fee monthly arrangement to support us and showed flexibility in that was critical in making the decision. We need to be able to have a budget and respect that. And I think intrinsically, given what you do and who you are, you understood that.
Interesting. And you didn't see that with other vendors, and so we were able to bring together the aspect.
No, other vendors were time and materials, and we're going to bill you whatever we want to bill you, and you're just going to like it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things which impact on that, and your perspective on your history as a by the hour lawyer. I completely appreciate, the importance of, that perspective on it. The bit that I really want to really get the right flavor on is the perspective change between these two approaches. So your vendor side partnered to Oracle, bill it by the hour, reactive service provider. They embodied something, in terms of a service quality. What I'm curious to get to is not just that we're nice people, right? That's fine. Nice understanding is good. But what I'm more interested in understanding is, has that helped your business unlock more issues? Has it helped raise the usability? Has it changed?
For sure.
Has it transformed the way the engagement works?
So I would differentiate what you do and from what the other firms do, as the other firms being the equivalent of a KPMG or a PwC, who are advisors, often overpriced and not practical, and what you do as being more like a member of the team, a supplemental member of the team. So my team refers to your team by the names of the people that we work with. So if Michelle needs to talk to Mary Chris, she's going to talk to Mary Chris.
Right.
And that's a very different relationship and different level of access than you would get when, are we working with PwC? We better call PwC. PwC is an entity, not a person. And companies of our size, we want to deal with people.
That speaks volumes to me, Gabriel. In fact, you filled me with tingles saying that. I mean, the whole approach, that we're really trying to get to is indeed, we use dedicated resources because tribal knowledge is based in the relationships of the business, and quite frankly, we work on your domain as part of your extended firm. Just because of that. Gabriel, I've really enjoyed chatting with you today, and I really thank you for taking the time. It's really, whenever you try and do something that's a bit different to the market, obviously we have very high conviction about what we do, how we do, and why we do it, and to flesh out why that, or how that's created value for you, has been really rewarding for me. So I really thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure. Happy to help, and thanks for all you do for us.
Pleasure.